Well, today, after heartbreak last weekend, we move on to Club 4 in this Firefighter story, and it's a chance at real redemption for us after a couple of difficult spells in Sweden. We've had one final day drama go in our favour and one go against. I'm hoping at this club we won't need it, as we're off to a league I've never managed in before. It's time to head to Slovakia. Yes, hello and welcome along to Club 4 of the Firefighter with me, Daniel. We are back this week and I'm hoping, from a managerial point of view, this one will be a little bit less dramatic. Of course, the last couple of weeks have been epic from a video point of view, but for my job security and for my blood pressure, we could do with this being a little bit more comfortable. And we're kind of hoping with this job, it might present a different challenge and a chance for us to progress in a different way. So if you're looking forward to seeing how we get on and where we're going, if you didn't see it at the end of last week, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. If you're not up to date with the series for any reason, you can find that up in the eye above. But for now, we are going to move on straight to Club 4 in this Firefighter journey. We've had a couple of stints in Sweden that have been difficult. We've had one other in Scandinavia that's gone well. But today, we step outside of that comfort zone and we take a move to a new league and a new country, for me entirely in FM, because we are off to Slovakia to manage Petrzalka. And those of you who were here at the end of last week will know that we have got a club in a slightly different position to the three we've managed so far, because all three clubs we've managed had been relegation candidates and our job was to try and keep them up at all costs. This Petrzalka one is a little bit different, because they're a club in a Slovak Second Division who are supposed to be battling in the top half of the table. Maybe not promotion favourites, but they are a side that were expected to be pretty comfortable. As it is, they have fallen all the way down and sit just one place and 4 points outside the relegation zone. There are mitigating circumstances. Their goal difference is better than a lot of the bottom half sides, so if we can click them into gear, there's a suggestion there that they're a very good side. If you add to that as well, that last season they finished second before losing a significant number of players, it must be said. We are essentially taking over a side that, as you can see, missed out on promotion by a point last season. Now they're in a battle against relegation. So our job this time as a Firefighter, yes, is again to take them away and keep them up, make sure they survive and don't have a disaster. However, we've also got a responsibility to take them a bit further up the table, because for the first time, we've got a club where surviving isn't enough. We've got to get them out of trouble and succeed in this challenge. We have got to finish in mid-table. Otherwise, we'll probably have another sacking on our CV, even without the relegation. And that could be damaging moving forward. If you remember from the end of the last episode too, the one benefit we did get at Ragsveds in Sweden is we are now on our first coaching badge. So will that have an impact as we're in charge there? And will that make us better come the end of our spell? And will it increase our reputation? Because it certainly seems that stint in Sweden didn't harm us after success with Lyseng. So let's go and take the job. We've accepted the offer already. A big pay rise on what we've earned in our previous three. So let's head over to a new country, meet the squad and the staff we're going to be working with at Petrzalka. And here we go. We've been hired as manager, having had a success and a couple of failures on our CV. You can see, despite pre-season hopes of a top half finish, Petrzalka are right in relegation trouble. They have, though, won 2 of their last 5 matches. They've picked up a little bit recently, and I'm hoping we can find some form with them. It's very difficult to judge them based on last season because they had a number of loan players and a few others that have been moved on, but they've still got a squad that's better than where they are. They're a 1.5-star reputation club, so up there with Lyseng, where we were a couple of clubs ago. The media prediction was 6th, so maybe overachieved a bit last year, underachieving now. The assistant manager and director of football are both okay. Director of football actually pretty good for the level. Assistant manager, yeah, not bad. Not the best coach in the world, but got some of the mental attributes we need. It's a small little stadium, but it's decent facilities overall. And despite the fact the club's in an insecure financial position, they're in debt, to be honest. They've got a transfer budget of 75 grand and a pretty big wage budget, probably up there with like a National League North or South club at the top end. So a little bit surprising on that front. We'll have to see how that pans out during the year, whether there's any financial issues that occur. But an old historic club and a chance for us to succeed. 4-2-3-1 being recommended, but we'll meet the players and decide that ourselves. Be competitive in a Slovak Cup we can't do. I'm pretty sure they're already out. And you can see we have promised to finish mid-table. not just avoid relegation. So we're only going to be here till the end of the season. The supporters just want to stay up, but the board want more. So can we deliver it? Well, if we look on our first day at the job, the supporter profile is pretty good. A bigger following than other clubs we've seen. 250 season ticket holders. We've not seen the like so far in this save. And there is confirmation of the expectations. A mid-table finish must be acquired, which, to be fair, looking at the points, the league is fairly tight. If you take away Zelina, who used to be in Europe when I was a kid, to see them at the top of the table 11 points clear is no surprise. Maybe the only shock is that they're in the seconds here. The rest of the division's pretty tight, so if we can get on a roll, you never know. Maybe we can push back up to that initial top half, but immediately the issue is getting safe, getting comfortable. I'm hoping we'll be able to do that. You can see despite where we are in the league, we've got the player with the highest average rating in the division. So that's a promising sign, suggests we've got some quality in the squad. Let's go and start though, as usual, with the staffing to see what people we've inherited behind the scenes. We've met 2 of them already. The under-19 manager is okay. Yeah, not bad. Works with youngsters. Decent motivator. We'll take that. What about the head of youth development? Could we get a special intake? Maybe not. He's okay, if nothing else. What's the personality? Balanced. He's just average, isn't he? Nothing more than that. Goalkeeping coach at senior level is all right. Young, still got room to improve. Much the same for the fitness coach, though he's not as good mentally. And then we've also got a chief scout who's poor and a head physio who's poor. So not much happening in those departments. So a couple of areas where we can improve the staffing team. There are still some spaces, particularly on the recruitment and medical team. We've got a couple of months till the transfer window. So if we can get the recruitment team up to speed, get those couple of scouts in, that would be great. Let's have a look at the development centre, see if there's any youngsters at the top level. There's a couple of 2-star players who are young. You can see there Kabbalah. He's got all the attributes to be a good striker apart from the pace. So maybe a bit of a fox in the box. He might develop as the year goes on. That is a regen name, isn't it? Stanislav Horny. Blimey. Right. He's a good dribbler. He's good technique, good determination, good flair. Again, lacking a bit physically. The natural fitness isn't there. Not the best on the ball, bizarrely. So maybe someone who doesn't like to pass. But if you can't pass or shoot, you're just running into blind alleys, aren't you? There's a 22-year-old keeper there who is all right but can't jump. And then there's a 16-year-old striker who we won't be considering, not in the short term. Let's have a look at the senior squad, though, and meet the ones that you're most interested in. It's a big old squad, but some of them can be immediately disregarded. Keep an eye on the squad rules here, because this is the first league where we've got quite tight restrictions. I know we had it with a substitutes bench in Lyseng, but here we must have one under-21 Slovak player in the starting 11 and one under-21 domestic player in the squad. Now, that will be the same player, you would assume, and no more than 5 non-EUs, but there are only 4 in the squad for now. So the first choice keeper, 2.5-star, Adam Krejci. He's all right. Again, 6'2", but can't really jump. He's passable for now, but I'd like to improve that position. When I can see that there are a number of 3.5 and 4-star players, I think we could probably do better. And then there's a young goalkeeper, Fendek, who's not as good as the other backup. Positioning 4, agility 6. Not for me. No, thank you. 2 3.5-star centre-halves. We've got Arnold Conan. He is a Malian. He can jump. He can run. He's got the core attributes. Not the best positioning, but a good decision maker and a left footer, which may be good for balance. And then Ivan Osenas is a 30-year-old Slovak. Oh, wow, he's good. Yeah, he's a proper balanced centre-half. And actually, those two might complement each other well because he positions himself brilliantly. He's really good in the air. He's fit. He's strong. But he's not the quickest. So that could be a nice little partnership at the back. I'm happy with that. There's a youngster there, Minka. I mean, he's determined, but he's nothing else. There's another one, a 19-year-old Ukrainian who, again, is not great. Positioning 7, not a big fan of that. We've got Agaga Aduko, another non-EU player. Very determined young left-back, but not the best player. Good in the tackle and good crossing. I mean, to be fair, he's got the key attributes. He has nothing else as a footballer, to be fair to him. There is another left-back, though, a 32-year-old Slovakian, Patrick Prickril. He is, yeah, he's a bit better. And again, a similar profile, actually. Just a little bit more balanced as a footballer overall. He's got 7, 8s and 9s in those other attributes. But very similar styles of left-backs. Good defenders, can chuck across him, but can't offer a great deal more. Do like that we've got a bit of pace at the back, though, for recovery. Dennis Hornick is the next one at 27. He's okay. He can play centre half, left back or right back, which is handy as a utility man, but I wouldn't really want him starting for either. Maybe a good player for the bench. Thomas Kachnik, another youngster, can't tackle. Peter Maslow, a 2.5-star right back. He's 37. I mean, he's not bad. To be fair to him, he's an okay footballer. But I'm not sure he's the solution long term. The acceleration and agility are long gone. But in the short term, he'd be okay. I'd like to upgrade there as well. There is another defender in Atiki Egbe, who is a 23-year-old Nigerian. Again, got the pace, got the tackling. Not quite so good as an all-rounder, but again, maybe not bad for the bench. As a foreign player, though, we need to be careful. We can bring better ones in. The 5 non-EU players will go to the best options. Maximilian Halo is an under-21. Yeah, he's all right. Maybe for the bench wouldn't be a bad option. But into midfield is where we start to see some proper superstars. We've got 3.5-star ability holding midfielder Adrian Chermak. It's going to be interesting to see if these guys are natural defensive mids, centre mids, whatever. Will kind of shape the way our midfield sets up, because I think we have to play a back four based on what we've got, because there's clearly, well, 3 good defenders and then maybe a right back we can bring in. Chermak is 31. He's a natural holding midfielder. He's very good. Wins the ball back. He's 6'3" as well, so great in the air as that anchor. Really like him sitting in midfield. That's a good player to have first up. What about Roman Magala, who's 4-star ability? He's a 25-year-old Slovakian. He's a natural central midfielder and a more attack-minded one as well. He can tackle. Not the best physically, but he's technically good. Mentally, he works hard. He's a good decision maker. He's aggressive. He's agile. Yeah, he's a good footballer. Now, have we got one more who can fill that gap in the middle? There are 2 3-star ability players. We've got a 2-star first, which is Ivan Katora. Yeah, he's well over the hill. Wouldn't be fancying him too often. But the other 2, 21-year-old Samuel Ergela, who is 250 quid a week. He's a natural number 10. That's not ideal. I mean, he's not the best all-rounder, but going forward, you can see he can finish, he can pass, he's got vision, he's composed. He might be that player who can unlock a door. Maybe we could play him a bit deeper as an advanced attacking playmaker or central midfielder and give him that license to go forward, because the other 2 are both good defensively. Or could we solve our under-21 from the start situation? Because Maciej Rijnik is a 20-year-old Slovakian. He's natural centre mid and attacking mid. And he's actually a very similar player, but not quite as good in the finish and composure. So maybe plays a little bit deeper. They're both left-footed. He's 6'2", which is a benefit on that side of things. But 2 really good young central midfielders there who could play alongside the 2 more defensive options. So the way I'm looking at that would be a holding mid and 2 centre mids rather than 2 holding mids and a number 10. So I think it's going to be a 4-3-3 rather than a 4-2-3-1. To do that, though, we need to have good wingers. So have we got them? Patrick Danek, now he's the player who had the best average rating in the league. He is concerned he wants to leave the club, which is not ideal, with only 3 or 4 games until the transfer window. He's 4.5-star ability at 23. I mean, yeah, he's very good. Can play naturally off both sides. He's good in the pass. Technically, he's got all the key attributes. He's quick. He's good off the ball. He's a proper star, isn't he? Really good player. It's just whether we can keep him and keep him happy. Otherwise, we could be in a spot of bother. There are other wingers that are rated okay. Eric Cherney is not one of them. He is 21 and he's not very good. So we'll ignore him as a striker and a number 10. We've got Enzo Arevalo, who is injured for 3 weeks. So he's basically out until the winter break. He has 3.5-star ability. Again, he's pretty solid. Probably more as a left-sider cutting in on his right foot. Says he's a natural striker, but he can't finish and he can't jump. So he's not going to play in that position for me. Has scored 5 goals this season, though, so might be an option out there. There is another left-sided player, though, in Adam Goljan. He is 23 years of age, 3.5-star ability. Yeah, very good. Cuts in off the left. He is a natural left footer, but a good finisher as well. He's quick. He's determined. I like him. We're certainly not going to miss Arevalo too much. And then the last 3. Oh, we've not really got a great striker. The best one looks to be the under-21, which might solve that problem for us. First up is Victor Sliaki. He's an impact sub at best. He's quick and he can dribble. He offers very little else. Peter Anua is a 2-star Nigerian striker. I mean, he's got the key attributes. so I wouldn't be averse to him playing on the bench. And then all of our hopes are pinned on Jakub Mirko, a 19-year-old Slovakian striker. Please be good enough to start. Oh, he's not bad. We're going to have to play in a slightly different way because it's the first club where we're not going to have that big target man who can just jump up and win everything. He can run in behind. He can finish. He's not got the best movement. But if we get the ball to him while he's standing in the box, there's a good chance he'll score. And that's a positive for us. You can see his rate is 1 in 3 so far. He's definitely got a goal threat. And maybe he'll improve from playing. I don't know. But of the under-21s, look like he's going to be the one to start from the beginning of this save. However, if we have a look at the schedule, it's not going to be for long. Because much like when we were in Denmark, we've got to muddle through a little 4-game spell, as there's the confirmation. They just went out the cup. But a 4-game spell before the winter break against sides that are, 3rd, 12th, 11th, 15th. Wow. There are 3 matches we've got a target there. And then after the winter break, we've got this huge spell of games 3 months later. But between now and then will be the winter window. So I would like to hope we'll have 3 or 4 new signings in by then. Definitely weak in goal, definitely weak at right back. And then can we find a striker as well to complement us and a bit of stardust? That's what we're looking for. If we can just get through these 4 games and get some results, will leave us in a really good position. 4-3-3 is definitely going to be the setup. And I think we know pretty much what our 11's going to be. The only question is between Urgula and Riznik in the middle, and then what we do when Aravalo's back fit. But until winter, we know what we've got. 4 games to go and a chance to pick up points, because it's not a bad squad. And the one thing I will give it, considering that they lost a lot of key players from last year, it's pretty balanced overall, which means we can set up with no huge weaknesses in each position. Yes, we've not got the best keeper and an aging right back, but they're both passable. So we'll be okay for 4 games. We'll see how we get on. Let me know if you disagree with my tactical decision, and I will return when we reach the winter break to reflect on our first few games in charge, where hopefully we've picked up some points. Well, I've got to be honest with you here. Yet again, for the 3rd club in a row, we've had a flying start. Now, it dropped off with Ragsveds. It carried on with Lyseng. How's it going to be here? As you can see, relegation is all but a distant memory. We've won 4 out of 4. We've got a +9 goal difference. And we're 6 points off second, which is the playoff spot for promotion, where the club finished last year. So I'm starting to get quite excited about this. I'm starting to think, could we do something spectacular? But the good news is I don't see any world in which we're at risk of relegation. Let's have a look at the schedule for what's happened in the 4 games, because they've not been all entirely convincing. There have been some bizarre ones in there. However, as you can see, early on we were just aggressive. We went for it. And then we've sort of found our style the last couple of games, made it a bit more comfortable. So we won the first game against Dubnica by 5-1. And they were 3rd in the league at the time, so a great result. Ogala got a couple at the start, including a brilliant free kick. Chermak got one, Goljan got one, and Peter Anua off the bench nicked one. So a young striker picked up a knock, but he was fine, thankfully. You can see that by the fact he scored in the first half of the next game, as Ajala again got 2, Osenas and Goljan getting 1 apiece. Danek creating loads of chances from the right, which is great. And then the left winger getting into the box, which is exactly what we wanted to see. We followed it up with a 2-0 win against Majava. Bagala and Danek got a goal apiece. And then Danek scored again against Dolny Kubin as we got a 2-1 victory. We had a little wobble after half-time, but we scored immediately from the kickoff after conceding. And you can see there's a couple of new names in there as well, because we didn't just wait until the window. We went into the free agent market. We'll talk about the players we've added in a minute. But for now, let's go and have a look at the tactics, because we are in a pretty good position here. We've made a 4-3-3 setup as we'd intended. And although it looks a bit weird from what I just said, it is working, because we've got Danek as an inverted winger, mainly because he's left-footed, but we've got him to cross the ball more. So he's putting in deliveries, sort of cutting in and then just drifting them into the box. And then Golyan staying fairly wide at the back post, arriving, putting him in on his natural left. Mirko's in the middle, Agala's attacking the box, and then Bagala's out there at the edge when it comes out. So it's just working really well. I made the decision with the players we had, particularly with Prickrell being a bit older, and also with, at first, the right back being 37, to have defensive fullbacks and then a really aggressive midfield and attack. So this solid base of sort of 6 behind the ball, the goalkeeper, back 4 and holding mid. Then 1 player just sort of sitting on the edge, and 4 that have just got free reign. Off you go. show me what you can do. And overall, it's been pretty clear. We've been calm with the instructions. We've not gone crazy with anything. You can see it's a fairly balanced setup. The only advice is run at the defence and whip those crosses in so Mirko can hopefully run onto them. Or as it has been, Goljan and Nagala can run onto them. Thankfully, we've got enough pace at this club that we don't need to sit back behind the ball. So we're able to have a mid-block, which makes a big difference. Not being sitting back at the edge of your own box, not having to drop the attack in to help. It's definitely aiding us when we go on the attack. And as you can see, we're picking up results. We're sharing the goals around in that front six. And the defence is just doing a defensive job, which is all I can ask for. So really pleased with the start so far. I will show you the couple of signings we've got in, though I anticipate there will be more over the winter period, because now we've got 3.5 months off, and I'd like to just add a bit more to the squad if we can. Let me show you what has come in, because 2 additions have joined the club. Naturally, Goljan had only just joined before we did, so what an addition that was. But the players that we've added are a goalkeeper and a right back, the 2 areas we highlighted we needed improvement. We brought in loads of players on trial, incidentally, who were recommended by the director of football. Most of the best goalkeepers wouldn't join us, so Unga was a decent one. Vadel was a good one, but we couldn't afford the wages. We tried to get Ryan Crowsdale, who's a 30-year-old English midfielder. Wouldn't discuss it wage-wise. And the same for Sarmiento, who's just above. I'm going to have a go at him in January, see if we can nick him. And Kane Woolery as well, just for a bit of pace and quality out wide. But again, the wage is well out of contention. The 2 we did bring on from it, though, as you can see, they were all on trial. But Adrian Slavic, who is a 25-year-old Slovakian right back, not quite as good defensively as the previous one, the 37-year-old. But he's got the physicality, he's got the pace, he's got the positioning. He marks really well, which I quite like. And he can also whip in a mean cross, which is important. He's had a solid start. He's got an assist in his first 2 games. And mentally, he's just solid across the board. So just thought it was a really nice upgrade, a good addition. And actually, in this instance, we're probably aiding the club for the future, because that is a player who can go on and be a star next year and the year after, which isn't normally the way we work. It's just happened by default here. Kamil Miazek was sort of the best of the rest goalkeeper after those Austrians we couldn't get. Again, as you can see, just very steady everywhere. Not the best positioning or communication, but he's great in the air. He's 6'4". He's got a good jumping reach. He's agile enough. His reflexes are fine. And he's got a decent personality. So in terms of what we can afford for basically 250, 300 quid a week, it's about the best we can get. We have got to try and trim the wage bill slightly because we're a little bit over it. And the club is hemorrhaging money, despite the fact that the transfer budget is still there. I'm not sure where they're anticipating making their money from to have that level of transfer budget, but the finances are still insecure and we have got to be wary of that. While I'm not thinking about the long term of this club and saving it, we've mentioned we're going to be selfish here. We've been given a budget, we'll spend it if we need to. What I want to do is make sure we don't have any points deductions or risk of administration this year, because we need to protect ourselves here. This is self-preservation. The coaching badge is still coming on well, so all in all, it's been fantastic. The managerial support is still not there because our reputation is low. I'm hoping once we get that coaching badge during this spell, it will actually just suddenly improve, or if we keep picking up results, it will go anyway. But the big question in January is this. Will Patrick Danek stay at the club? The window's open, I think, till the end of February, the day before we start off again. For 6 assists and 3 goals in 14, he'll be a big loss if we lose him. Will clubs come in? Will they offer a price too good to refuse? I don't have to accept anything here because I'm not going to be here for the long term. So if it's not a ridiculous offer and something I can use, I ain't going to take it, because this is about survival and maybe about sneaking Petrzalka back up to the other end of the table. The Firefighter has taken a new twist. It's a rare opportunity we'll get this. And of course, going to a new nation and doing something special after our failure last time, it could be really important. Don't forget, we've still got to finish in mid-table, basically where we are now, to be considered a success in this job. Let's skip ahead to the end of the winter break and see if we've got any more new faces to help us out with that. Well, we return for the Zelina game and we have got 2 big additions to the squad. One of them because it's a very good player, and perhaps crucially, the other that may help us with the under-21 criteria should we get an injury. So really optimistic about the rest of the season, particularly the position we're in. It's just whether we can avoid key injuries, it's whether we can stay in form and how we play against Zelina. So let me go and show you what we've added to the squad over the last 3 months. We have had a few more injury problems. Arevalo, he came back from one, got injured again. We were on the winter break, so God knows how he got it. But he's obviously someone who likes to live a lifestyle that may get him in trouble. Let's have a look at the transfers though. We'll start with Patrick Danek, who is still here, but he's furious he wasn't allowed to go. We had an offer for him permanently, which came up to about 70 grand. And it was from that Miedz who are in Poland. We also had a few loan offers, but they were only offering 30-40% of the wages. So given he's got another year on his contract, there was no point selling him. There was no benefit to the club or to me, because financially they deserve more than that. What it does mean though is that financially we're still in a bit of a mess. We've lost another 45 grand since you were here. We've had to reduce the transfer budget to put it onto the wage budget, and we've had to try and keep things a little bit tighter just to avoid any financial and point penalties as a relation to them. Let's have a look at the two that have come in. No, we loaned out a young goalkeeper, we loaned out a young centre-half, couple of £100 off the wages. But in come Leonardo Bortoli on loan from league leader Zelina. Obviously can't play in this first game he's eligible for. But here's a 21-year-old Slovak winger, natural off both sides, very solid backup option for now. But given the second Arevalo injury, I thought we're going to need another backup here. And more importantly, he's an under 21. So on those odd games where we need someone to start, he'll be able to do the job for us. He's also come off the bench 5 times for his parent club this season already. So he understands how to play at this level and for a team that's winning every week. I like him. The second one is perhaps a more important addition and the one we said we were going to target. It took till the end of January, but Jan Sarmiento is in. £300 a week. He's declined a bit now. A 28-year-old Colombian striker. Basically, it gives us the choice of he can play up front and we can then put Riznik in midfield instead of a Gala at some point. Or we can play Mirko and use this guy off the bench as a centre forward, a right winger and wherever else. And he was also an option potentially if we lost Danek to play off the right wing. So really good addition to the club. 6 foot, which means he can head the ball as well. He's just a solid all-rounder. Someone who I think will eventually be a starter. But I've got to wait for a Gala's form to drop off because he's just been so good so far. But we are in a position now at least that if we get 2 or 3 injuries, we can still compete. Previously, that wasn't necessarily the case. I mean, I look at the squad now, you've probably got to say, bar maybe holding midfield, central defence, although we have got Egbe and Hornick who are decent players. So maybe bar left back and holding midfield, we've probably got decent backups everywhere because even the keeper we started with is now the backup. So unless we get injuries in those 2 positions, I think we're all right. I'm optimistic we can go on a push. I don't know that we're going to get second, but it would be incredible if we could compete for it. And to skip ahead a few weeks, if there's any big news, we'll obviously pop back. But if not, I'm hoping that we're going to have an end of season decider at the top end rather than one at the bottom this time. We'll give you news of youth intakes and things like that as they come along. But so far, I'm cautiously optimistic. No threat of relegation for the first time in the Firefighter. Is it going to be a boring end to the season, or can we achieve the unthinkable? Well, this is a little bit strange now because we've actually come back continuing our good form. You can see we're in a cracking position, but there are a couple of massive concerns now. Firstly, our last 2 performances, which have been pretty dismal against average sides, but also we got an injury in one of the 2 positions we said we couldn't, and that gives me grave cause for concern. You can see it from the team news there. It is not ideal. Let's go and have a look at the schedule because we've played the 4 games off camera. It was a brilliant performance at Zelina. We actually had a slight injury to the striker Mirko, so I played Sarmiento from the start, brought in Riznik in midfield, and it worked really well. Sarmiento got the winner. He played fantastically, and as you can see, he's gone from strength to strength. He scored the winner in the next game against Malzanise. Gala got the first, he got the second. Riznik missed a penalty. We drew 2-2 away at Porony. And that was an incredibly frustrating one because we conceded in the 90th minute. We could have been very close without that. Poor mistake from the goalkeeper, the first one since he's joined. And then Putchov, again a poor performance from Danek, which is becoming a bit of a concern. Since he said he wanted away and was unhappy at not getting his move, he's not played great since the break. Mirko got 2 off the bench though. Sarmiento got 1 at Goljan got 2. So the wins are still coming, albeit less convincingly in terms of performance. But now we've had the hammer blow because if we go to the medical centre and the current injuries, there are two positions where I said we've not really got a great backup. And it's not just an injury to Adrian Chermak, it's a season ender. A hip injury, which will leave him out for 3 to 4 months. And it means we're having to juggle our midfield round a bit. Yes, we've got other players who can drop in. So we've got the other centre mid who can go into the holding role. He's not natural at it, but he's fine. And we've got Riznik who can then come in centre midfield. But there's no one like this. There's not that big, tall, ball-busting anchor man who can go around and win challenges and then has the quality to distribute the ball. So I do feel he's going to be a magnificent loss for us. If we have a look at the tactics now, basically Bagala is dropping into that role where he's got no physical presence, albeit he's still good defensively. And then Riznik is playing on the right in a more restrained midfield role where he's not got that defensive quality. So I do worry we're going to be more susceptible to the counter-attack. I'm really concerned about Danek's form. And at the back, we're getting exposed a bit more. Even the goalkeeper's not playing well. Maybe that's a little bit of a knock-on effect from it. So I'm not sure where we're going to go the rest of this season. I'm not sure if that injury is going to be the costly one. We'll find out over the next few weeks, I'm sure. But overall, despite picking up some more great results, and again, look, we've met our objective as the Firefighter. We're not going to finish below mid-table. I'm still a little bit worried that we're not going to achieve as much as we could just because of that one injury. We'll find out in a few weeks if I'm right. Well, it's youth intake day and we need a distraction because we've had our first defeat as Petrzalka manager, and defensively things are starting to go wrong without Adrian Chermak as we predicted. There is one very good young player in this youth intake, which is Richard Casale. He is a good young defender who's pretty solid at everything across the board. So once he grows and physically develops, he's going to be a monster at this level. Problem is for this year, no one who's going to jump in straight away. We have got some improvement in the development centre. Kabala is moving forward. I think he might feature for the first team before the end of the year. But as we suspected, that injury is going to be costly. We were 4-3 against Slovan Bratislava. We were fortunate to win it. Late on, we just really struggled to maintain composure. And you can see in that holding role, we've just not got anyone who can dominate the game. Conan scored early. Agala got a brace again. What a player he's been. And Goljan got one as well. Really nice to see him improving. However, the last game was a disaster. Agala scored the penalty, but we lost 3-1. We were comfortably beaten. And although we've tried to replace Chermak with the best player we could find from the free agent pool that we've got available and from our director of football suggestions, it's not quite done enough because the player we bought in is not really the same player. I'll go as far as to say it's a bit of a panic signing. It's just trying to fill a void. Vincent Cosiello is a 2.5-star centre midfielder who again is trying to do a job in that holding role. Again, doesn't have the physical presence that Chermak did, and that's the big problem with both of these players. But he can do a job there, and he's a decent player overall. So my hope is at the very least, we've got a couple of decent options there. But not being able to find a like-for-like replacement through scouting or the director of football, and because the financial situation's so poor, we can't improve the scouting or anything. It really has made this difficult for us. So unfortunately, I think that's going to be costly because if we go to the competitions now, we are 5 points adrift still of second place. We are well clear of the relegation mix, but we could still finish as low as 11th reasonably. We've got to be quite careful with the mid-table finish that was expected. But overall, just the frustration of what could have been, and that's what's leaving me at the moment. We'll go through ahead to the final game of the season now because unless we get ourselves into a surprise promotion mix, I don't think there's much more to play for. Well, we return with 2 games to go because this week it has become official. We have missed out on any chance of a promotion playoff. It now looks quite dramatic, 14 points away, and we've been overtaken by a few sides as well. It's just all fallen adrift a little bit. A couple of key injuries towards the end of the season. Chermak's still out. We also lost Sarmiento a couple of games ago, which just put the final nail in the coffin because as well as not being able to defend, we now haven't got the attacking stars we had. And that's just left us a little bit short. The bank balance is poor, but we made it to the end of the season near enough without any financial penalties. The big question now is, can we get a top half finish? Because we've got to look at a positive here. If we finish in the top 8, we've overachieved. We promised the board we'd finish mid-table. They initially were offering us a job interview just wanting to stay up. As a Firefighter, we've more than done our job. And we've got the club back to actually, at the moment, its exact media prediction. But the question as we go towards the end of the year, especially playing against 2 sides that are below us in the table, is can we now overachieve and finish in that top half? I mean, we could conceivably finish as high as 4th, which would be a great effort from where we took over. We can go up 10 positions, and that would aid our reputation moving forward, because it's one of the questions that's been asked in the comments a lot, and it's sort of an experiment running alongside this save. Can you increase your reputation, get your coaching badges, move forward while doing this style of save where you're constantly leaving a club at the end of each season? Well, we've got our first coaching badge in now, and we've gone up from half a star to a 1-star reputation. This is the coaching badge that Ragsved's agreed to pay for. They were financially in a good position. The problem we're dealing with a lot of the time here, like we have at this club, is that the clubs have no money, so can't afford to put us on a course. And quite often, we're battling against relegation, so we can't get a situation where we're in a positive enough position that the board want to back us and give us one. Especially when we're doing 1-year contracts and we know we're going to be leaving at the end of the year. So this was a great opportunity from the Ragsved's job, and it's actually done us a lot despite that late failure. And here at Petrzalka, we've sort of benefited from it. We look at the dynamics now. The managerial support has flown up to average. Everything else is pretty solid. We've just not had enough to cling on. I did bring in another free agent towards the end of the year just to try and add to it. Joseph Menik came in last week, made his debut. He is a 30-year-old centre-half. We're a little bit short. So he comes in centre-half, utility right-back, utility holding mid. And I did actually give him a go as the holding mid as a substitute. I just thought he's a bit more of a physical presence like Chermak was, albeit he's nowhere near as good on the ball. It's not really affected the schedule because we've become very inconsistent and pretty poor overall in truth. We lost 1-0 at Prezov to an early penalty. We did win 2-0 at home to Lipany, Gala and Oxenas despite the red card to Slavic. We lost 3-1 away at Hemen. Sarmiento got a goal, but it was a comfortable defeat. He then scored a hat-trick as we just about clung on at home to Liptovsky. But then the last game, without him, it all went a little wrong. Koziello got an injury as well. We lost 2-1 despite Goljan's goal. And overall, the goalkeeper's had a mare. The defenders are struggling a bit. They've just not got that protection. So maybe for the last 2 games, I will try Menik in that holding role. He's not going to be playing for much now. We're going to get through the final 2 games of the season. I just want to see if we can get that top half finish. And if we can, we'll then go and look at our next job because there's nothing, unfortunately, to play for at the end. I said it would be nice at the start of this episode to have one where we didn't finish with drama like the last 2 because it's a much calmer experience. We've done really well. You can see Agala's now got the best average rating in the league. There are great signs for this club moving forward. I just genuinely believed at that winter break point, after we beat Zelina the first game back, I really thought we could challenge for second, and that's fallen away. So a disappointing finish to what has been a very good, successful job period. We've now got to make sure we complete the overachievement and finish in the top 8, because that will bode really well for us in our next job push. Let's see if we can do it. We'll be back to report at the end of the season. Well, if I'm completely honest, I'm a little bit sad as we return at the end of the season because we finished with a bit of a whimper. A 3-2 defeat on the final day after a really frustrating 0-0 draw last time out. And I've got to explain to you why it's gone wrong again, because the Dubnica game, we actually defended well with Menic in that holding role. He then got injured before the final game. Mirko can't hit a barn door. Without Sarmiento, we didn't have a goal scorer. So the last game I put Goljan up front, and he scored. Then Mirko came off the bench and got one. But at that point, we were already out of it because we didn't have a holding mid. Asenas got an own goal as well. It's just been a really frustrating end. And it's sort of a pattern I'm becoming a bit worried about. We started really well at Ragsveds and Lyseng. And while in the end our results stayed pretty good with both of them, and they've stayed okay here as well, we do tend to drop off towards the end of the season, and it's something I've got to find a solution for. Is it just that I'm having that instant new manager bounce? Is it that I need to tweak something tactically? Am I trying to bring in too many players at once at these clubs? I don't really know what the solution is. I don't think that is the case here because we only brought in 3 or 4 and they made a big difference, certainly in Sarmiento's case. Not getting the main goalkeepers was definitely a problem here. But it means we finished the season in the position the club expected to be pre-season, according to the media. 6th place. We stay in the top half despite only picking up 1 point in those last 3 matches. In the end, the top 2 run away with it by a country mile. And in the end, we stay safe by over 15 points, which is incredible from where we were. Remember, we took over with the club on 13 points, just 4 points above the dotted line and 1 place above it. We've gone up 8 positions. We picked up 32 points. in less than 20 games. We've done a really good job. I can't help but feel a tinge of disappointment because I don't think through the rest of this career we're going to get a chance to take over a side that were battling relegation and possibly lift them towards a promotion place. And I genuinely believe before that Chermak injury, and certainly later on the Sarmiento one as well, I believe we could have done that. So a little bit annoyed on that front, but overall, it is now back on level terms. 2 successes and 2 failures in the Firefighter. And while this one maybe didn't have the drama of the last 2 weeks, I've got to say, I've really enjoyed Slovakia, a league I've never managed in before. Lots of good players over here, lots of interesting tactical setups, and loads of high-scoring games. So definitely positives. And if we go and have a look at our profile, up to 1 start, we got that coaching badge from our previous club, Ragsfeds, and we've avoided a sack in here by overachieving, which is really important. Gives us some knowledge of Slovakia too, which is nice. Hopefully helps us with our next job. And we've managed to get through the season without completely crippling the finances, which is nice. So we're going to resign from this job. As you know, we never stay beyond the 1 year. And next time, I think we're going to go, probably, if the choice is there, for a slightly tougher relegation battle. I think this year, if we do get a winter-to-winter job, we are going to avoid Sweden because we've had enough heartbreak there. There's going to be lots of European jobs in the summer we need to ignore. We might end up in Japan, you never know. There's a few clubs struggling over there. We're going to resign from this job. We're going to apply for some others. And we'll be back in a moment for interview news to let you know who's giving us an opportunity and to find out the job we're going to take and the club we're going to be managing next week for Club 5 of the Firefighter. Well, I tell you what, I was about to resign. I'm glad I clicked continue once more because one of the things, if this had been a long-term save, is that we would have run this club into the ground because they have relinquished their professional status and will revert to semi-pro next year due to their terrible financial position. They've also decreased the number of staff that could be had. So that's not good news for the club. They're still remarkably offering a transfer budget of 40 grand, which I don't understand. But our final action at Petrzalka is to watch them go to semi-pro, and maybe that gives us all the more reason to resign. Certainly gives us an excuse now, doesn't it? We've resigned from the club. They want us to stay. Will they stay for the foreseeable future? I'm going to say I've got no intention of changing my mind. I think my time has come to an end here. We're incredibly disappointed and will miss your leadership. So that suggests that we have done well. Hopefully that will be reflected when it comes to other club job interviews. We'll be going to have a look at them now. We'll be applying for everything. And if anything relevant comes up, we'll be back in a moment to find out about it. Well, it's been 11 days since we resigned from our job in Slovakia, and we've had a fair few job interview offers actually. Plenty from Europe where the season has just finished, the likes of Wales, Northern Ireland and other such nations giving us an opportunity. A few in Asia, we've had one from an Indonesian club, we've had one from an Indian club, but again, they're in the off season, so it wouldn't have fit with this save. We did have one job interview offer from Sweden. It was a club on 2 points who it was virtually impossible to save. But now we've got a really interesting one for a reason that a lot of regulars on this channel will know pretty well, because we have been offered a job interview in the Latvian Super League, a league I've wanted to manage in for a long time and was going to do a Twitch save with initially in FM25 had it been out at the end of November as planned. And we have been offered an interview by Spartaks. Now, you might have said about the last challenge that we did this week, was it a little bit too easy? Was it one where we were expected to survive? Well, this one, you certainly can't accuse me of that, because let's have a look at where Spartaks are. They are 10th bottom of the Optibet Versiliga, and let's have a look at them. They have got 4 points from 17 games, a goal difference of -30, and 0 victories. Now, we're going from the sublime to the ridiculous here, because this is a very difficult test. However, I am given comfort by the fact that a side they've just drawn with, Supernova, are just 2 points above them with only 1 win and with 6 points from 16 games. And given that 9th is a playoff match rather than relegation, it is a genuine chance for us to keep a side up in the most difficult way. And I think, bar that, there's maybe only 2 teams that in an outside world could be caught. It is a 36-game season. Everyone plays each other 4 times, a bit like sort of the lower leagues in Scotland, if you wanted a comparison for the league. The only difference at the end of it, of course, is you've got 3rd to 6th who are playing each other for Europe. And as you can see, the top 6 and the bottom 4 are essentially 2 different divisions when it comes to Latvian football. So it'd be one hell of a challenge, but there are a few things that are sort of enticing me here. In addition to the fact that it's a league I've wanted to manage in addition to the fact that while there's not much ambition beyond it, there is a genuine chance to avoid automatic relegation and get into that playoff place, which would lead to a dramatic end to the season and a chance to be a hero. But we've also got to look at the timing of it. It's the 31st of May, and if we have a look at where this club are, they've got one match on Monday, which we probably wouldn't be in place for anyway, and then they've got a 3-week break. Now, what's significant about that? If we go and have a look at the Latvian league rules, well, the transfer window, if I can go and find it, opens on the 15th of June. So we would have a chance to start getting players in as quickly as our first match. And if we can pre-agree a few, if the director of football can find some, or if there's any sort of scouting knowledge at the club, or even former people we can bring with us, maybe there will be people that we managed in Slovakia that could help at this level, and we would have that prior knowledge of them to bring them in. Maybe someone from Lyseng might even be capable. I don't know what the standard is. But this could give us a real chance to get on the front foot. And you can see even beyond that month, then you've got the restricted free agent window for another 2 months after all the players have been released from England, Scotland and all the others. So I kind of feel like it's a club where I can make a difference if the budget and the situation allows. So I'm definitely going to go and attend for an interview and see what happens. I'm not going to go and look at the standard of the squad. I don't want any spoilers. The only thing I have seen is that there are wages going up to sort of 450 quid a week for a largely Latvian squad. So whether or not there's much scouting knowledge beyond that, I don't know. And whether or not those wages are justified, I'm also not sure. But it is a league I've wanted to try for years. And if we're talking about the essence of the Firefighter save, that league table and that battle basically to finish 9th and avoid automatic relegation, that is what we're talking about, isn't it? So let's go and attend and see what the situation is, because I'd really love to get this job. It's great to be here. Let's get started. What do we want to say? I'm fairly adept at learning languages. Yeah, we'll pick up bits quickly. That's fine. Can you explain why you've resigned from so many jobs? This is a question we're going to get a lot in this save, isn't it? In a career as long as mine, a couple of resignations here and there are almost inevitable. I put it to you that each of those resignations were unique to the circumstances of the club. I'll just say in a career, a couple are inevitable. I don't think that's too bad. I'm extremely concerned to note that you have been relegated with alarming regularity in such a brief career. This is the hangover effect of that last day of the season with Ragsfeds. We wouldn't be getting this question if we only had one relegation on the CV. Let's see. I seem to have something of an affinity for struggling teams, and it's inevitable a few relegations will come my way. Brilliant. That's what we want to say. You have previously been embroiled in media controversies. Have I? I don't even remember having one in this save. Exception rather than a rule. I'll be able to get a strong atmosphere here. I don't want to make promises. We don't want to have the head coach Peterborough Sports effect again where we get sacked for the dressing room being a little bit upset. You could be replacing someone who did not have a good relationship with the fans. I always want to build a strong bond. Don't you worry about that. I've a proven track record of spending considerable time in a job. I'm not sure I do. I've never once departed after a brief spell at a club. That speaks volumes. I mean, I'll say the first one, but we all know it's a lie. What makes you the ideal candidate? I've got the passion, fight and spirit to avoid relegation. A small budget to make changes to the staffing team. The board culture, oh my word. I've never seen this before. The board culture is to sign players under the age of 17 for the first team. Holy smokes, that's a difficult one. That's limiting the pool of signings quite a lot. How many or what percentage of our signings have got to be under 17s for it to work? I don't know. They want to avoid relegation. They want to reach the latter stages of the cup. It was an interesting one, this, because they're the second favourites for relegation, but the favourites aren't the other side at the bottom. So we either need to hope that the side in 7th or 8th, whichever one it was, drop off massively, or the side in 9th say awful for the season because they were 7th or 8th favourites to stay up. We'll say the club's got an exciting future. We love firefighting, don't we? Is that something you think is attainable? Yes, I will meet the objective of avoiding relegation. I'm obviously not going to promise more here. The proposed transfer budget, 250 grand. Well, hello. Let's have a look at a positive here. Is this another club, if we can get up into 9th place, is this a club that might give us a coaching badge? Because they must have money to be offering that. I'm going to say I can work with a slightly smaller sum just because A, I want to get my coaching badge and B, I want to get the job. And we should still then get, what, 150, 200 grand. I'm happy with that. The wage budget is 12 grand a week, the biggest we've had by a long way. I agree with that. I have no other request to propose. I am just desperate for this job. This looks like a proper firefighter challenge, but also a job that could have other tangible benefits for us. Let's skip ahead the next few days and see if we get offered it, because I've kind of got my heart set now. I really want to end up in Latvia next week. I've got to be honest here. My heart's broken. We were rejected by Latvian side Spartaks. It looked the perfect job on paper. We've been turned down for a former Latvian international, so it's back to the drawing board. We still don't know where we're going to be next week. And all of the other interviews we're getting, mostly in Indonesia, are for clubs where they're in the off-season. We need to find someone in trouble, or we could end up waiting till winter for another European summer-to-summer job. Well, we've gone through probably 25 job interview offers now, most of them inappropriate in the off-season, but you may well call me, well, a fool, to be honest, because what do you do if you make the same mistake once? You don't make it again. What do you do if you make it twice? Well, maybe you make it a third time. We have been offered an interview and now a request for backroom staff changes by Varbergs in Sweden. Second Division West. We haven't tried the West yet, in fairness. They are 2 points adrift of safety. They are in the relegation playoff position. But it's earlier in the season. It's a tighter division. And it is a side that is expected to be, well, exactly where they are. We've also, just to give you a bit of an update as to where we are at the minute, got one potential other job on the horizon, which would be leaving Europe altogether. It's DL Pro, who are in the Chinese National First Division. Now, there is a little bit of a concern with this. If we go back up to the top there, first and foremost, we're not the favourite for the job and there's an odds on for somebody else. But secondly, this is a job where a club is a couple of points ahead of the safety line, where 3 clubs go down. Realistically, it looks like they're all fighting for one last spot. But the minimum expectation there was top half, and I kind of said, you may be pushing it a bit here. So we're going to go and request these changes. Not going to suggest for anyone to be sacked. It's purely done so we can then go and hire people. If you look at the standard of staff that are here, it suggests it's not going to be great. They are a smaller club than the one we've been managing. But last time we were in Sweden, and this is something we've got to think about with okay finances again. Last time we were in Sweden, we had a real opportunity because we got a coaching badge. And to be fair, we were a minute from keeping the side up. It's a semi-pro team. The media prediction was 5th at the start of the season, and it finished 2nd and 3rd the last 2 years. I think this might be the one where we can finally make it work. So let's confirm that. Let's go and get through and see if they now offer us a job. It could be third time lucky in Swedish football, or it could be yet another amusing failure. Let's find out whether we get the chance to go and join another Swedish team next week. Well, here it is, the opportunity to finally put it right. We failed miserably the first time. We failed just in the most dramatic fashion the second time. I am determined to get Sweden right before we move on. We managed them in Club 1. We managed them in Club 3. They are the 2 failures on our CV. We're going to do it with Club 5 as well. Let's go and get through to the Varbergs job offer. 90 quid a week. I want to be earning 110. Let's submit it. They've gone for 100. Should we try once more, see if we can get it? Yes, we can. We're going off to Sweden for the 3rd time. Can we finally succeed and put this chapter to bed? Varbergs will be the club we're managing next week in Club 5 of the Firefighter. I hope you're looking forward to that after a second success on our CV from Slovakia with Petrzalka. By far our best performance so far and the only comfortable success we've had. Will it be back to a dramatic week when we head to Sweden for our 5th club? Well, history would suggest that probably yes, based on all the other jobs we've had. If you're looking forward to it, seeing if we can finally get it right, then please do put a thumbs up on it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Will we succeed in Sweden? If you want to stay up to date and find out, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. I know a little less drama this week, but you can't have it every time, can you? 2 clubs in a row, it went to the final day. Will it happen again? Get your predictions in. Let me know if you think we'll ever succeed in Sweden. In the meantime, you can find the rest of this playlist up in the eye above. Links to the football podcast, the Twitch channel, and several other playlists too. And I'll see you back here next Sunday for our 3rd crack at Swedish football. And after the dramatic failure 2 clubs ago, will we finally get it right this time? I'll see you next Sunday to find out the answer.